Hey YouTube, it's Marita from the Nurse Lounge, and today is my second baby story that I'm going to share with you. It is my older son. He turns 11 today. So if you want to see, or not see, but hear about my baby story, please stay tuned. All right, so we are back, and I wanted to share with you my second story of me having my children. So I thought I would share with you. I shared with you my youngest son when he had his birthday on April 20th, and today is April 26th. And my oldest son, as I stated already, is turned 11 today. So now I'm going to share with you my baby story and share how I got that little boy into the world. So let's just start with the pregnancy information is still the same as it was from the previous video. And if you haven't seen that video, then I will definitely link that one at the end so you can watch that baby story as well. But this pregnancy was a planned pregnancy as well. And we decided that we were going to start trying in August of that year of 2009. So no, that's not true. August of 2008. He was born in 2009. So in August of 2008, we decided we were going to start trying for a baby. So me and my husband, again, started trying, and we got pregnant right away. So I got pregnant in August, and I started my prenatal care soon thereafter. And similar to the other story, insurance, we've never really had insurance that really had or carried maternity coverage. So we had to wait until 3 months into the pregnancy to actually get covered. So for the first 3 months, I was covered, and I did self-pay. So I went to like the health department and places like that to get my prenatal testing done, to get my labs drawn until I can get into my regular OB that I had for most of my pregnancies. So that's just kind of how it was with how our insurance works. We didn't really have prenatal care out the gate. We had to basically I had to pay out of pocket until. So I knew at that point in time to start my prenatal vitamins, which I was already on because I started prenatals actually before I got pregnant, because I wanted to make sure that my body would be as nutrient rich as possible as could be, considering that I was probably about 30 when I got pregnant, or when I had him. I was 30 when I had him. So with that being said, what was going on in my life at that point in time? I was actually in my master's program at that time. So I was actually getting my master's degree in nursing education at that point. So that was very, very difficult because I was taking classes and we were trying to get pregnant at the same time. And then I actually graduated in December of 2008, about 20 weeks pregnant. I was about 20 weeks pregnant here. You can see how round my face was. So the pregnancy was pretty much uneventful. We went to the doctor monthly as we were supposed to, and then around 24 weeks, so right after I graduated, I started upping it to about twice a week. I went to maternal fetal medicine, and I would see them once a week and see my regular OB once a week as well. And I've kind of talked about that in the other video. Basically, I have high-risk pregnancies. I've had all my babies early. I've had all of them before 37 weeks. My first daughter, she is 21, but she was born at 35 weeks and 5 days. My second daughter is 19, and she was born at 35 weeks and 3 days, and she went to the NICU for 6 days. My son that we're talking about now, he was actually born at 36 and 6. And then, of course, my baby that we did on the 20th was born at 36 and 4 days. So my body always decides that it's going to have a baby early. It's not going to wait ever until 40 weeks. And that is what makes me high risk in itself. So I'm not one to, that's why I'm done having children, because for one, I'm advanced maternal age at this point in time, because I will be 42 on the 27th. So tomorrow I will be 42. So me and my son and my other son are all three Tauruses. So April 20th, then my son today, April 26th, and then mine tomorrow is April 27th. So we share that. So anyway, that's not what this is about. But again, I have high risk pregnancy, so therefore it is best for me not to have any more children at this point in time in my life. And nor do I want any. 4 children for me is enough. So anyway, I graduate in December of 2008 with my master's degree in nursing education. And then, as I said, about a month later, I went on to go to the doctor more often. So I went, twice a week from 24 weeks on up into delivery. I had to also take the 3-hour glucose test because I did fail the 1-hour one that we had to do at 28 weeks. That in itself, just so you know, when you do fail that or have issues with your blood sugars during the pregnancy, you are at more so risk for developing it's called gestational diabetes when you're pregnant, but you are at more risk to develop type 2 diabetes later in life. So for me, even today, I'm having to watch what I eat and be mindful of the intake of carbs and things like that. I'm not a diabetic, I'm not a pre-diabetic, but I'm just saying that it predisposes me to becoming one because I had gestational diabetes while I was pregnant. So besides taking those blood sugars 3 and 4 times a day throughout the pregnancy, it was pretty uneventful. I went in for ultrasounds. They also wanted to do an ultrasound of my heart to see was anything going on with my heart to make sure I could maintain this pregnancy. I just had hypertension. Like I've told you before, I've had hypertension, high blood pressure, so I was on medication. I was taking methyldopa, I want to say 250 milligrams BID, which is twice a day. So I took 250 in the morning, 250 in the afternoon. I took my prenatal vitamins, and I also took the baby aspirin that I told you about. And the baby aspirin was to help thin out my blood so that the nutrients from my body could get to the baby via the placenta so that he would grow. My earlier pregnancies were small babies. And so because they were small babies, we wanted to do everything we could in this pregnancy to get my son where he needed to be in terms of growth and getting him further along. So we were trying to figure out, if we take this baby aspirin, will this also buy us time in regarding to pregnancy in terms of how long it stays in the womb. Just so you know, I am an OB nurse, so I'm an OB nurse, nursery nurse, so I do know GYN nurse as well, so I do know what I'm talking about here. Every day that your baby stays in the womb buys the baby 3 days in NICU. So every day that we keep that baby on the inside and it minimizes the risk in there, that's the best place for the baby to be. And then, when it's time to have the baby, hopefully the baby is strong enough and well enough where it does not have to go to the NICU. And of course, that was my objective. Like I've told you, I've had one child already who went to the NICU for 6 days, and it is what it is. So we want to take those precautions with my son so that we could make sure that he was going to be okay. All right, now fast forward. It is now time to go in for my 32-week ultrasound. So I went in for my 32-week ultrasound, and it was uneventful. Again, I'm always like, is it still a boy? I'm still checking for that. And of course he was still a boy, and everything was fine. And I got to watch him breathe, and I got to watch or simulate breathing. He's a thumb sucker, and he's been sucking that thumb since he was in utero. Okay, so I got to see him suck his thumb. And believe it or not, depending on the angle that you get, and we got those 40 ultrasounds done because I had to have a higher tech ultrasound done to look at the vessels and the cord and things like that. And so he has dimples, and you could see his, dimples in the ultrasound. So I thought that was just the cutest thing. So 32 weeks went by fine. I'm actually, going every 2 weeks as scheduled. Nothing is really happening with this pregnancy. We're taking extra precautions as well because of the fact that it has been about 8 years since I had a baby between my girls and him. So I'm super excited because I haven't had a baby in so long. And then of course it's a boy. I have 2 girls already. So it's something different. So I was overjoyed about going to, Babies R Us was my store back in the day. Babies R Us and Walmart for some reason. And going to shop for boys' clothes this time instead of girls' clothes, and just the diapers and things like that. So I knew I was going to deliver at 37 weeks because, again, I'm high risk. And because of the fact that my body thinks it's going into labor for whatever reason early, the doctor wants to make sure that we get the baby here safely and that he could deliver the baby, because I wanted him to deliver the baby. So we scheduled the induction for, well, the doctor was going to schedule for 37 weeks, which would have been on my birthday. However, he was not working on my birthday, so I had to be in the hospital the day before my birthday. So we had it scheduled for then. About 34 weeks, I went into the registration and paid my $100 copay to have my baby. I paid that, and then I got my car seat, I got my bag ready, and everything was ready to have a baby. Because I am high risk, I knew that anytime I go to the doctor, my blood pressure might be up. He would say, hey, today's the day. You need to go ahead and go on to the hospital to have the baby or whatever. Well, I was able to maintain good blood pressure control through the pregnancy. My blood pressure would creep up into the 150s over 80s and 90s, which is very high, and it's not good for someone who is not pregnant as well as somebody who is pregnant. But that's just kind of how my blood pressure was. And so we kept an eye on that, and we kept an eye on the protein that could have been in my urine when we did our tests and things like that, and things were okay. So now it is the morning of, or the night before, actually. It is now April 25th. Yes, April 25th. And I go to bed knowing that the next morning was going to be where I was going to be induced. I had to be at the hospital at 5:30 in the morning to go ahead and get ready to deliver this baby to be induced. So what I ended up doing was I, took a very good shower, had my bags in the car, everything was in the car ready. And just like clockwork, I started having contractions the night before. And they were pretty intense. I don't know if it's because my body's just like, okay, tomorrow you're having a baby, so let's go ahead and get ready tonight. But I had already been checked in the office earlier that week, and I was only 1.5 centimeters. So I wasn't really doing anything, and we wasn't really concerned about anything because, I wasn't dilating at that point in time. I was opening up, but again, 1.5 centimeters when you got to get to 10 is not significant. So what we ended up doing was I ended up going home, and I said, okay, you know what? I ain't really trying to be in the hospital all day long having babies and stuff like that. So I'm up here doing squats and doing all kinds of exercises to help probably augment this to bring it along. I do know that sex will help stimulate that, but because of the fact that I had been on a pelvic rest, meaning that you couldn't do anything sexual, nothing can go in there. So I was on pelvic rest, bed rest, pelvic rest as well. So I just didn't want to risk anything. And I am a nurse, and I actually, like I said before, work on the same floor that my OB doctor works on or has patients on. So I was actually on work restrictions as well. I can only work 6 out of a 12-hour shift, so I can only work half a shift. So I wasn't really working that much. And then around 34 weeks, I know I'm going back, but I'm gonna come back forward. Around 34 weeks, I went ahead and went on bed rest on my own. So I went on FMLA, maternity leave at that point in time, and decided that I wasn't gonna work anymore because I just needed to kind of lay up and just let this baby grow. So I laid in the bed and ate, and well, I wasn't in the bed. I was on the couch, propped up, watching whatever I was watching and getting everything ready for his arrival. And keep in mind, I had 2 older girls too. So I had an 8-year-old and probably a 11-year-old at that point in time. Girls who were in middle school. No, they were both in elementary school at that point in time. So I was busy with them as well. And then at that point in time, my daughter had started dance. My oldest daughter had started dance. So I had going to dance classes still, dropping them off, doing things for them, and then maintaining this pregnancy and such. So Fast forward back to the hospital. So the night before, like I told you, I was cramping. And again, at that point in time, I did not know that that's what contractions were, but that's what I was doing, was contracting. And so the next morning, I get up. I had to be at the hospital at 5:30, so I got up about 4:30 because I'm only 30 minutes from the hospital. I was not living. Actually, I was living an hour and 15 minutes away, but I decided to come down to my mom's house, who lived 30 minutes from the hospital, because I wanted to be close by in case something happened. So that's what happened. I was at my mother's house and I wanted to be close by, so I was 30 minutes away. So I got up about 4 that morning. So this is now April 26th. That morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, I get up and I do another real quick wash up because I want to be fresh, because you know they check everything and they check everything. So I just wanted to be as clean and fresh as possible. So I took another very good wash up and I got everything ready and we headed to the hospital. So when we headed to the hospital, it's time to go in through the ER, because that's when you go and you tell them you're coming in to be admitted to have a baby. They don't come get you unless you're an emergency or unless something's going on. They don't come get you. You walk right on up there. So I happened to walk right on up to the L&D, and they, of course, at this point in time, keep in mind, I work at this hospital, so I'm not a nurse today, I'm a patient. And they're like, oh, you here to have your baby already? We didn't know. They knew my name was in the books. They put your name in the books, so they knew that. So anyway, I was there to have my baby. And so they give me my room and they start Pitocin. So I had started contracting that night before, but it wasn't like it was with my other son, where you just contracting. It wasn't like that. It would start and then stop or whatever. So I wasn't doing anything when I got there. However, me contracting at night actually helped dilate me. So by the time I walked in there and they checked me again, I was already at 3 centimeters. So those contractions at night really helped, thin my cervix and get me going and got me dilated. So I went from 1.5 earlier that week to that night, changing me from 1.5 to 3 centimeters the next morning. So I'm like, hey, we only got 7 centimeters to go. And when it comes to being a OB nurse who happens to be delivering a baby at the same hospital that you work at, people have asked me, this is a side note, people have asked me, is it awkward to deliver a baby, or for people to see, your vaginal area or things like that when you work with these people? And I have to say, to be honest with you, and for me personally, no, it's not, because I don't have anything that any other female does not have. If I had something different, then maybe that would be embarrassing or whatever. But to be honest with you, the nurses that I work with are so professional, and the doctors I work with are so professional. And we say vagina just like you say arm. It's not a big deal to us. It's OB. That's what you got. That's what we focus on, right? And so honestly, I've seen so many vaginas in my day that nothing stands out about them. It's like, oh my gosh, I remember her vagina. You see what I'm saying? Nothing is like that. So we don't really have that kind of issue. So for me, I'm like, no, because honestly, by the time you're ready to get this baby out, because you hurting and everything, you don't care who look at it. Just get the baby out. So with that being said, they checked me. I told you it was 3 centimeters already. And it's only about, at this point in time, I got my IV started, I got my labs drawn, and that's when people begin to realize, because when you go to the hospital, you can say my name, your date of birth and stuff like that, and I say 4/27/78, and they're like, oh, your birthday is tomorrow. What a wonderful thing to be in the hospital for your birthday having a baby. And it was, to me, it was the best present ever. So I was really excited about having a son who's going to have a birthday very close to mine. And so anyway, IV was started, they started the Pitocin, and things were going very, very well. There was no issues with the pregnancy, with the delivery thus far. Well, as time goes on, I'm really beginning to contract and I'm really beginning to hurt. So I wanted something for pain. I wasn't really ready for my epidural quite yet, but I wanted something for pain, because of the fact that those contractions were getting intense. So they gave me a medication called Stadol. And Stadol, it can be used for pain management, especially when you're in labor. However, that may have lasted maybe, I could only have it about every 4 hours. It only lasted like 1.5 hours. So after a while, I was like, you know what? I don't even really want this, because this right here ain't even working. And I'm not really into having something that doesn't last for a period of time. Like it don't even take it completely away, but it definitely took the edge off, you know, for at least for the hour and a half. So we made progress. I was making progress, and then about 12:30, I was just like, you know what? You know, when someone's pregnant and she's getting close to the end, she'll start zoning out. Meaning that there's people in the room, but she has this look about her that you're kind of like, that baby's coming, I can tell. So I started zoning out because that pain started getting intense, and I didn't want any more of that Stadol. It wasn't doing any good. So I said, well, you know what? Is it time for my epidural? Can I have my epidural? They're like, yeah, you can have your epidural. You're only 7 centimeters at this point in time. And for us, they typically won't give it to you after 8. At our facility, our CRNAs will not give it to you after 8. So I got it right at 7 centimeters. There were 3 other women who were laboring the same time I was, and we were all like boom, boom, boom. I think I was 7, somebody else was 6, somebody else was also 7, and somebody was like 2 or 3. And they are going around, the doctors was going around asking about epidurals, and so I was waiting on the CRNA to come in to give me my epidural. And so she comes in, and she does eventually, it's probably about 1:10, I want to say, in the afternoon. And she is giving me my epidural. So for some people, the epidural is either going to augment, make you go faster because your body's relaxed, or sometimes because it's so relaxed, you stop dilating altogether. Well, for me, just like that, I went from 7 centimeters to 10, just like that. So here we are. My OB is in the house. He is on the floor. However, he was delivering another baby at that same time. So the nurse was just like, okay, let me go ahead in and out cath you real quick. She said, I think I can see him, the baby's head's crowning. And she said, he's coming. Like you could just, the contraction was just like literally pushing him out. I wasn't really doing anything. She's like, don't push, don't push, don't push. I was like, I'm not pushing. I'm not doing anything. I'm just laying here. You know, I'm not doing anything. So she's like, oh my gosh, this is the nurse. Oh my gosh. She said, he needs to get in here quick. So we have these things called Voceras. So you push the button and it says, can I help you? And you say, call Dr. whatever. And that's how they know to come in or whatever. So she pushes the button and I'm like, get in here now, the baby's coming. Mind you, I'm yelling in this her little thing. The baby's coming, the baby's coming. And so he walks into the room and he said, oh, so we're having a baby? I'm not amused at this point. But the nurse like, yeah, I believe we're having a baby and we're having it quick. I need you to get your stuff on. He goes over there and sits on the couch and puts those shoe and leg covers on. They have to get all, geared up. Shoe and leg covers on. And he pulling up one at a time. And I'm up here like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And he's just like, just hold on. Don't push, don't push, don't push, don't push. Now, mind you, just got the epidural like 20 minutes ago, right? Well, as he is sitting there waiting, and not really waiting, but putting these things on ever so slowly, he is going at sloth pace at this point in time. He was as slow as a sloth. And I'm up here trying to squeeze it all together to keep this baby in because the baby was just going to just shoot out if he didn't. So finally, he gets up and they go to put on his gown. And he already had his mask and everything like that on. They go to put on his gloves. And as they're putting on those gloves, he literally just got it in. And the nurse had her hand on my perineum, just like this one, just holding the head just so it wouldn't move or so she could guide it out if it was going to shoot out. And just as soon as he says, I'm ready. As soon as she moved her hand, that little boy shot out. He shot out at 1:27 p.m. So from the time that she put the epidural in, and I was supposed to be getting my loading dose, which she said, I never really started she had literally just cut on to get my loading dose. She was still at the bedside counting her medications and counting the dose and making sure everything's okay for me to get that dose. By the time that baby came out, she went back over there and cut that pump off and said, you didn't get any of the medication. You just had your baby natural. I was waiting for him to get out the way to cut everything on for you. And so she said, you did very well with that. So the CRNA done tore up all this stuff, to put the epidural in. I'm relaxed thinking I didn't had something, some epidural. And the whole time she over there counting her stuff and saying, no, you never got anything, because I was waiting on him to get in here and get out the way, because he was in the way. And so I was like, you mean I had no epidural? I went through that whole thing natural. They said you did it all natural. So he arrives at 127 and he came out, but he wasn't crying. And for me, or for all moms, or most of us, we are waiting for that, to hear that baby cry. And I'm like, is he okay? Is he gonna cry? What's going on? And I'm up here, you know, mind you, laid back in the bed, legs up in the stirrups, but I'm up here propped up trying to see what's going on with my baby. Why isn't he crying? So then probably about 2 minutes into it, it's the longest 2 minutes ever, by 129, he started crying. So I was so overjoyed. We finally did it. And then, you know, because I hadn't had a baby in so long, we were so excited about that. And so the doctor goes around giving dap to everybody, because he's like, oh, we did this type of thing. He's a cool, kind of nerdy kind of doctor, but he's really, really good. So we had this baby and it was great. And I'm going to insert pictures right here so you can see what he looked like when he was born. Here is Jaden. He was born weighing 6 pounds and 5 ounces. He was born at 36 weeks and 6 days, and he arrived at 1:27 p.m. on April 26, 2009. All right, so now that you've seen the pictures of what he looked like when I was born, let me finish this story. So after he came out, I got to hold him, of course, and do all the things I need to do for him. I am a component of breast and bottle feeding, so I did immediately breastfeed, but I also, you know, follow up with the bottle. That's just what I did. That's my choice, and that's what I did, and I'm okay. I was okay with it. And he's healthy and he's fine. Actually, he's one of my healthier children, even though he was breast and bottle fed. So with that being said, I ended up tearing. So I had what's called a 2nd degree laceration. So a laceration is a tear that the body makes on its own, and it was a 2nd degree laceration. So when he shot out like he did, he tore me up down there. Now remember, you have to be repaired. They have to stitch you back up again. And even though he came out weighing, I want to say 6 pounds, 5 ounces, which is actually a pretty big baby for 36 weeks and 6 days. Because if I actually had went another month or another 3 weeks and a day to make him 40 weeks, he would have been easily an 8.5, 9 pound baby, because babies gain the most weight at the end of the pregnancy. So he would have gained probably about a half a pound a week at that point in time. So he didn't make it that far, but he came out weighing 6 pounds, 5 ounces, which is an average size baby, to be honest with you. And for 36 weeks and 6 days, that's an excellent size baby. He would have been a huge baby if he was full term. He was considered to be late full term at this, or late preterm, late full term, late preterm is what he was considered. But he was a healthy baby, and he did very, very well. And they stitched me back up. And because I never really had an epidural, I was able to eat right away, and I was starving. I mean, when you go into labor, yeah, you hungry. You know, you don't get to eat before you come in. They tell you don't eat anything after midnight. So I didn't eat, and then about 1:45, they had that food tray there. They were sewing me up, finished sewing me up. I'm like, I had lasagna at that. And I'm not a big person for lasagna, but I was so hungry, I tore that lasagna up. And Jell-O, I don't even eat Jell-O, but that day I was hungry, so I ate the Jell-O and lasagna. And then I ate so fast that I got nauseous. So, you know, I learned that real quick not to be eating fast like that. But that's what happened. And then it was time to get ready to go to postpartum to my new room. And I actually got up and walked right on over there. Remember, I never had the epidural, so didn't realize it. But let me tell you, when they sewed me up, they had to put some lidocaine down there, and that hurt like hell. It's just like having, when you have your wisdom teeth pulled, and they give you a shot of that in your gums. That shot hurts. So imagine a shot like that in your perineum. But yeah, that's what I had to sew me up. So, you know, that really, really hurt. So, you know, I had my sprays and my topicals for that area down there. But I walked to postpartum, and I was very happy that this pregnancy was over. And I was happy that it was a very uneventful delivery. It was exciting. I was happy to see my son, and you know, he did wonderful. He did have a what you call a tongue tied, where his frenulum was too close to the tip. So we eventually had to, he ate well as a baby, but we had eventually to get that clip for him. But anyway, as I did with my other son, I wanted to introduce you to my oldest son. His name is Jaden. Come on. All right, so this is, come on. This is Jaden. So this is the one that I had at, what time did I say? 1:27 on April 26th in 2009. And so Jaden, say hi.
Hi.
How old are you today?
11.
So Jaden is 11 years old, as you can see, big boy. See those dimples? Get close so you can see. See those dimples that he has. Anyway, those dimples are something I've always loved. So anyway, this is Jaden. You met London the other day. And so just like Jaden, just like London did the other day, what are we eating for your birthday today?
Pizza.
And what else?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. And probably some cookies or something. I don't know. Since we're in quarantine, it's very hard to get anything done, but we're going to make up for their birthdays once this whole situation is over and cleared up. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed our video today. Thank you all so much for watching our video. Say bye, Jaden.
Bye.
And just so you know, I will do a baby story, another baby story, when my next child's birthday is, and that is not until June. So I know you're probably wondering, why is it so out of order? Because that's just how the birthdays fall. I just wanted to just kind of like, you know, I want to do a baby story. So here we are. So we did my first son on April 20th. Today's April 26th, which is my second son. We did my second son first, and then my first son second. And then in June, my daughter will be 22. So I will have her with me so you can see my daughter for her baby story. And keep in mind, I was only 20 when I had her. So she's 22. She'll be 22 this year. So anyway, until the next time, thank you for watching this. Please comment, subscribe, like, share my video, because that is what helps other people see that I am here. In addition to that, as you all know, I am a registered nurse. Almost 16 years now. OB is my specialty. So since OB is my specialty, I definitely want to share with you all my baby stories. I have 4 kids, so therefore you will have 4 stories all this year. The next one won't be until June, like I said. Thank you all so much for watching. Until the next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.